Today, we're diving into a fascinating and somewhat controversial topic, comparing the God of the Bible to the God of the Quran. One of the big sticking points in this discussion is the concept of God being a trinity. Muslims often struggle with this, but there's a fair amount in the Quran that might help. This may be a surprise, but the way the Quran speaks about God isn't totally different. I'm not here to ruffle feathers by saying God in the Quran isn't one, but there's a degree of plurality in the way God is described. First off, let's talk about the Spirit. In Christianity, the Spirit is a big deal, part of the Holy Trinity. But did you know that the Quran also mentions God breathing His Spirit into man? Yup, it's in there twice. When I have proportioned him and breathed into him of my Spirit, fall down in prostration to him. Then he proportioned him, and he breathed into him of his Spirit. These verses speak of God breathing His Spirit into Adam. Quranic scholars usually tell us not to ask too many questions about what the Spirit is or how it's connected to God or Adam, because God's essence is unfathomable. That's fair. The text even says that God alone knows what the Spirit is. But the Spirit is not the only thing with God, because the Quran speaks of the mother of the book and the heavenly guarded tablet. What are these, you ask? They're essentially the Quran itself, or rather, the Quran before it was sent down to earth. It's uncreated, like God, eternal, existing before time itself and lasting forever. This is kind of like the Logos, the Word of God in Christianity, which you could think of as Jesus before he became flesh on earth. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Both the mother of the book and the Logos function as the Word of God in the respective religions. So how is the mother of the book related to God? The majority of Sunni scholars describe it as one of the 7 attributes of God, and they say that these attributes are not Him, nor different from Him. Mind-blowing, right? The plurality of God in the Quran is a mystery. I mean, if you ask how the Quran could be eternal, alongside God, but that God is only one, Sunni Muslim scholars respond, do not ask how. Now, contrast this with a Christian concept of divine revelation. Matthew 11:27 says, "No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal him." So Christians didn't make up the Trinity, just like Muslims didn't make up the guarded tablet in heaven. It's all about revelation. So there you have it. Christian and Islamic ideas about God are definitely not the same. But if you look closely, you will discover that they are also not that different.